I want to bring in now Labor MP Ed Husic. He joins me here at the desk. Ed, it's really good to see you.
Thank you.
We've been speaking a bit over the last couple of days. This is so difficult for the Bondi Beach community, the Jewish community. But can you give us the perspective from your constituency, the people of Western Sydney and the Muslims that you know?
I think we're all Australians, so we, regardless of where we live or what our backgrounds are, I think yesterday, burying a 10-year-old girl who was deliberately named by her immigrant parents to forge a bond with a new homeland in Matilda, she deserved a life rich of experience and happiness and joy, and that was robbed by a heinous act of terrorism. At a really special time for the Jewish community, Hanukkah, you can't claim to be a person of faith and undertake that act of terrorism, and particularly at a time that's religiously significant for Abrahamic brothers and sisters. It's just wrong. And I just, at a time of grieving and at a time of mourning, like, we need to stand as one with people, and we also need to acknowledge leaders are important, programs are important, but we can all exercise leadership. And at this point in time, my view is anti-Semitism isn't a fight just for Jewish Australians to undergo. We all stand with them. We're all going to take this on together because people deserve, as I've said many times, to live a life free from fear, free to be who they are, free to practice their faith, and free to be Australian, one and all.
So you say this fight of anti-Semitism is a fight that Muslims are fighting too?
We need to,
yeah.
And I know there are a lot of Muslims that believe that as well. Their own experiences would shape them in that. And I've been speaking a lot this week with friends in the Jewish community and with friends in the Muslim community, with leaders in both, and speaking with rabbis as well. And I've said to them, to the point I've made about leadership, I've said to rabbis, like, there are a number of things. One is it's been very heavy blocks of trying to move Jewish and Muslim Australians together. Yeah. One rabbi said to me, we're at a fork in the road. He's absolutely right. And he also said to me something that I think we should all be mindful of, which is we choose our hard.
Yeah.
We choose our hard.
Every path is hard from here.
Correct. That's exactly what he was emphasising. I am one person, but I'm committed to it in my role. And just as a person, as I said to you, my folks came from a country that shredded itself with ethnic and religious hatred, and I'm always motivated to play a part in bringing people together.
Yeah. We've got to
do that. We've got to recognise the hurt. And the other thing is too, I just think what we don't need right now is whataboutism.
Yeah.
We don't need that.
When you say whataboutism, is it, and I haven't seen this after Sunday, to be fair, but do you mean that you're not about to sit here and say, well, there's been Islamophobia as well?
Yeah. Well, this isn't the time for that, though I do think we always should recommit ourselves to driving out racism. And importantly, I genuinely, to my bones, believe this is a great country. Like, I've been able to do stuff I could not. If my parents had made the choice to stay where they were, I wouldn't be who I am today.
Yeah.
And it's all because this country gave us a great chance. And so we've got to commit to that. But people are grieving, people are mourning. We should recognise that. Another thing I just want to stress too, Laura, is, at a time where people are grieving and mourning, we don't need more anger and hate. When people are feeling the way that they are, we don't push them away, we bring them closer to us. And we do that not just through the act of grieving and mourning, but I think building the stronger bonds that we need to as a country. And I've been thinking a lot about, like, the marker in terms of leadership was, if you look at the way Jacinda Ardern conducted herself, what she did for her country after a terrible terrorist attack. And we've experienced the worst terrorist attack on our soil at Bondi, the worst time for Jewish Australians, a very special time in their calendar. And I just think their fight is our fight on this. On anti-Semitism, their fight is our fight. And in doing that, we can tackle this, and we can tackle other forms of racism and division that affect other people in our community. But the biggest thing we have right now, and I just remember, as I said, the words of the rabbi who spoke with me and gave me that advice about the fork in the road. We were at that fork in the road. Let's choose, let us choose as a country to bring people together at a moment where they're hurting.
They're really angry.
Yeah, they are.
Have you felt that? Have you felt that directed towards you as a Western Sydney Muslim Labor MP, or have you felt that directed towards you as a member of the Albanese government?
So this, I know people will have different views. I respect that. Great thing about our country is you can express those views. I don't, to be honest, I don't, this isn't about me. This is about our country. Yeah. And...
But can you give us an idea of where you think that, like, how have you seen the anger? Where is that being directed? I've seen it directed at the Albanese government.
Yeah.
And Anthony Albanese in particular. Now, to think that one man, even if a Prime Minister, could have stopped this, I don't think anyone truly believes that. But it's how a leader steps up in a moment, and a lot of people are disappointed that he hasn't this week.
So there are a mix of things that you've touched on in that observation. This is a really hard time for the country, with the worst terrorist attack directed against Jewish Australians at a special time. And so there will be a mix of emotions that are there. We're all trying to do the right thing. Nothing's going to be perfect. We're just trying to bring everyone together, and for us to move forward on this issue, in particular, where people have felt there's anxiety, there's fear, and there's absolutely anger, to your point. And, you know, if you've been in public life, you've got to have shoulders big enough to you're just going to have to cop it. Okay. Right? And so when you ask me the question about what's directed to me, I'm not looking at me. And people will say their things. But I think what should guide us, like what we should utterly be focused on, is bringing people together, and we can't do it all perfectly, but commit to it, commit to doing better, right?
Something's happened in this country in the last couple of years, though, in particular, and you talk about the two blocks of our society. I see the division on display. I remember when Josh Frydenberg was still in Parliament, you two, as Muslim and Jewish brothers, were the best example of bringing... I thought that romance, that relationship, that friendship on display was so important, and it permeated. Are you two still talking? Do you still have that kind of friendship? Or what's happened?
I could have done better. I haven't spoken to Josh enough, and I'm very sorry about that. And, you know, I do say that on here, that I could be better. And these are moments where we can all say, you know what, we can do better. But again, less anger. Just cop stuff on. I know Josh has had to... There'll be people that feel a lot of things about what Josh has said in the last 48 hours, but he comes from a family that was touched by the Holocaust, and that intergenerational trauma is real. People should understand that. And for a lot of people that have been touched by, and that's why, you know, for a lot of Australians who trying to process what anti-Semitism feels like, understand the most horrible things in the worst chapter of world history occurred to Jewish people. 5 million were slaughtered by the Nazis, and that leaves a mark across generations. So yeah, I should have done better in terms of keeping in contact, and I'm sorry to Josh, and I think it speaks to something that I need to fix, and I commit to do so. And I just want him to know that, and in particular, it's been a hard couple of years because we've all felt what we've seen. My constant, Laura, has been to acknowledge humanity on both sides.
Yeah.
The Israelis that were killed on October 7, all the Palestinians that were killed after that point, they all innocent people deserve, as I said right at the start of this chat, Matilda deserved to have a life rich of experience, and she did not deserve, and none of the people that were killed through this act of terrorism deserve that. And we should speak out on that and stand up as one on that and say we're going to drive that out. It's better for the country long term.
Can I ask you about the rallies and the pro-Palestinian protests and also the drive to recognise Palestine? Benjamin Netanyahu has said that essentially rewarded the terrorists, that recognition of Palestine. After this event at Bondi Beach, have you reflected on that? What are your views there? Any regrets?
I've stood up because, as I said a few moments ago, I acknowledge humanity on all sides. And I felt what we were seeing occur both on October 7 and afterwards, and particularly as it affected innocent people, was wrong. And I'll speak up on that. I'm not going to respond to everything that you've said because I genuinely feel during a time of grief and mourning, this isn't the time to have that discussion.
You don't want to disagree with me right now.
I just know people are hurting right now, and we don't need to go into the ins and outs of everything that's being said. Particularly, you've reflected on some people who lead their nations. I'm not going to respond to that. I just think of other leaders at times past where they've been confronted about this and how they've responded. There's going to be plenty of time to have those discussions, but for now, I think what we need to do in a calm way is to be able to stand as one, but to also acknowledge there's a lot of anger and hurt, and there's fear. Like, that's the big thing. There's a lot of fear, and we've got to take that away. We've got to stop people feeling that, and the way that we stop is the way that we respond. Not just now, but obviously there are things being considered by national and state governments on how to deal with this. And I just would say to people, please don't react straight away to the things that you've heard in terms of the response. These are extraordinary times that require us to think differently to deal with fear. And the other thing I just want to emphasise too, Laura, and you've been very generous with your time, for which I'm hugely grateful. Jewish Australians cannot be held responsible for the actions of a foreign government. Just like Muslim Australians can't be held to account for the act of individual terrorists or for groups overseas. People deserve to live their life free from fear, practice their faith, be good Australians, and other Australians, can we just, your beef is not with a Jewish Australian or a Muslim Australian. If you've got something, like in democracy, you can express your views, but just think, like, what are we doing to build stronger threads between ourselves and build a stronger social fabric instead of pouring acid on that fabric through anti-Semitism?
Anthony Albanese stopped short of saying sorry yesterday to Jewish Australians and failing them. He said, acknowledged that things can be done better, should have been done better, and can always be done better. He has that opportunity now. From what you've just said, Jewish Australians, Muslim Australians, we all need him to step up. Do you agree with that? What does he need to do?
I think the Prime Minister acknowledging that, and particularly from himself, I think speaks a lot. Being able to say, well, let me put it to you this way. Politics, wherever it's played out, is very unforgiving. And politicians are often taught not to say sorry.
Yeah, why?
Well, I don't know why. It's messed up. But to acknowledge that you could do better, that's a pretty big... I think that reflects well on the Prime Minister. We can all do better. Every single one of us, right, can do better. And this is why I'm emphasising to your viewers, and I know there'll be people that have different views about what I say. I respect that too. But I reckon deep in our heart, we can go, yeah, okay, what can I do to make this better? If you've got that sentiment in your heart, that is a good sentiment to build on, to work on. I certainly look at it like what we can do to play a part. And from my point of view, it's about repaying a country that has been very good to every immigrant that's come here. Like it's given us, like for many immigrants, a second chance, a second shot at life to do better. Pay it back. And that's what we should do.
Ed, thank you. I appreciate you coming in.